It's 9 a.m. at a clinical trial site. A patient signs an informed consent form, one document, one signature, and in that moment it becomes evidence that a human being agreed to take part in medical research. But here's where clinical trial documentation gets interesting. That signed consent form normally stays under the investigator site's control. It isn't routinely filed in the sponsor's eTMF. And understanding why is one of the simplest ways to understand the difference between an eTMF and an ISF. The signed consent is retained with the site's trial records according to applicable requirements and site procedures. This is where the ISF comes in, the investigator site file. Think of it as the documentary memory of one clinical trial site. Delegation logs, training records, drug accountability documentation, site-specific trial documents, and records showing how the study was actually conducted at that site. The ISF is maintained under the responsibility of the investigator site. As the trial moves forward, the file grows, documents are added, new versions are approved, responsibilities change, issues are identified and resolved. The ISF builds the story of what happened at one site, but somewhere else, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away, another trial file is being built at exactly the same time. The eTMF, the electronic trial master file, unlike the ISF, the eTMF doesn't focus on just one investigator site. It helps reconstruct the story of the entire clinical trial, every participating site, monitoring activities, trial management, safety oversight, regulatory documentation, and essential records showing how the study was managed and overseen. The sponsor remains responsible for its trial master file, even when certain trial activities or TMF operations are delegated to a CRO. So now comes the important question. If the participant's signed consent is retained under site control, what does the sponsor document? Oversight. As part of clinical trial monitoring, consent records and the consent process may be reviewed according to the monitoring strategy and applicable requirements. Was informed consent obtained at the appropriate time? Was the correct approved consent version used? Were required signatures and dates present? And if there was a problem, was it identified and appropriately followed up? The monitoring activity, findings and follow-up are documented in the sponsor's trial records. Meanwhile, approved blank informed consent templates, their relevant versions, and approval documentation may form part of the trial master file. And this is the key difference. Let's put them side by side, the way an inspector would. Ownership. The ISF belongs to the individual site. The eTMF belongs to the sponsor or CRO overseeing the whole trial. Scope. The ISF holds documents from just one location. The eTMF holds documents from every site, everywhere the trial is running. Timing. The ISF is active and constantly updated while the trial is underway. The eTMF is the permanent record, the one that persists long after the trial has ended. Now, fast forward. 2 years after that consent form was signed, an FDA inspector arrives, unannounced, at the very site where it all began. They ask to see the ISF. They pull the original signed page, still exactly where it's always been. And somewhere else, in a separate remote audit, another reviewer opens the eTMF, not looking for the signature itself, but for the monitoring report that proves someone already checked it, on time, correctly. If both tell the same story, the trial passes. If they don't, that's a finding. That's the entire reason this system of two files working together exists in the first place. So the next time you hear someone use eTMF and ISF as if they're the same thing, remember this: the proof never moves, only the paperwork proving someone checked it does. If you found this useful, subscribe to Science of Medicine. We break down clinical research one concept at a time.